It was nearly 10 p.m. on a humid Thursday evening in Manhattan. The city shimmered with artificial lights, humming with energy even as most people prepared to wind down. In the heart of Midtown stood the renowned glass-encased luxury tower, the Aurora, a building famous for its multi-million-dollar penthouses, celebrity clientele, and elite security. It was also home to one of the most powerful women in American business, Imani Reynolds, the 37-year-old tech CEO of Novatia Systems, a company valued at over $80 billion. Imani had just returned from an exhausting 14-hour round-trip flight to Geneva, where she'd secured a historic international deal with a European AI defense firm. Clad in a fitted navy travel suit and designer sneakers, her carry-on slung casually over her shoulder, she was ready to relax. The only thing on her mind was a hot shower and the lavender tea her assistant usually left in the penthouse kitchenette. As she stepped out of the black SUV in front of the Aurora, a pair of newly hired lobby security guards, neither of whom had seen her before, eyed her with suspicion. One, a tall white man with a buzz cut named Todd, walked up to her with exaggerated swagger. The other, a Latina woman named Carla, crossed her arms, already smirking. "Hold up, ma'am," Todd said with a slight scoff. "This entrance is for residents only." Imani blinked, confused. "I am a resident. Penthouse 73. Carla laughed under her breath. "Sure you are." Todd stepped in front of the door. "No offense, but you might be lost. Deliveries go through the service entrance on 52nd. Imani straightened. "Do I look like a delivery person?" "You said it, not me," Todd muttered, cracking a grin. Carla chimed in. "You got ID or something?" Imani reached into her bag and pulled out her personalized keycard and her New York State ID, which clearly stated her name, photo, and the penthouse address. Todd took them, examined them for a beat too long, then shook his head. "This could be fake. You'd be surprised what people can print these days," he said, handing it back with a smirk. Now, visibly irritated but keeping her composure, Imani said, "Call the building manager. Or better yet, look in your database. You'll find me listed as the owner, not a guest." Carla leaned over the front desk computer. "Funny," she said mockingly. "We can't find anyone by that name. Maybe the real tenant let you borrow the card?" That's when Imani realized what was happening. It wasn't just a mistake. It wasn't confusion. This was profiling disrespect laced with prejudice, masked as routine protocol. These two had made up their minds the moment they saw a young black woman in casual clothes walking through their pristine marble lobby. A small group of residents lounging in the lobby had turned their heads by now, some with curiosity, others with discomfort. One elderly man chuckled under his breath and said, "She's clearly in the wrong place." Imani looked at her Rolex. 10:06 p.m. "All right," she said, sighing as she pulled out her phone. "Since you won't let me into my own home, I'll have to take a different route." Todd and Carla shared a glance, smirking like they'd won some small victory. Imani made one call. It lasted less than 30 seconds. "Yeah, this is Imani. I'm downstairs at the Aurora. Denied entry again. Send the board emergency line in and connect Greg to building ownership immediately." She hung up, not bothering to explain. She stepped aside and began scrolling through emails. Just then, a sleek black car pulled up out front. Out stepped Greg Hastings, her COO, looking alarmed and breathless in his trench coat, still tying his tie. Behind him followed two men in suits, one from the building's property management company and the other from Novatia's legal department. "Ms. Reynolds." Greg called. "I'm so sorry this happened again. What did they do this time?" "They told me I must be making a delivery," she said coolly. The property manager paled as he approached. "Ms. Reynolds, please accept our sincerest apologies. I assure you, you assured me last time," she interrupted. "The last time your staff called the police because I came home in gym clothes. Or when they assumed I was housekeeping. And you promised, didn't you, that it wouldn't happen again?" "Ah, yes, I did. But I don't want excuses," she said. "I want accountability." She turned to Greg. "Have the termination papers been prepared?" "Yes," he said, handing over a folder. Imani opened it and pointed. "Effective immediately, both Todd and Carla are to be removed from the property." Their access badges are to be disabled, and all recordings from tonight are to be preserved. Notify building HR and compliance. And I want a formal letter of apology from the board delivered to every tenant in this building. Todd and Carla blinked, mouths opening and closing as realization sank in. You wait, what? Carla stammered. You can't be serious, Todd said, face flushing. We were just doing our jobs. No, Imani said calmly. You were flexing your authority on someone you assumed didn't belong. Because of what? My skin color? My clothes? My age? You mocked me. You humiliated me. And you failed to do the one thing you were hired to do, protect and serve residents. Carla began to protest. We didn't know who you were. That's the problem, Imani said, stepping closer. You didn't care to find out. You made assumptions and acted on them. In the corporate world, that's negligence. In my world, that's enough to end your career. Greg gestured to the two private security officials who had arrived with him. Escort them off the premises. The guards protested, but within minutes, they were out the door, bags being packed from their lockers by staff inside. Imani finally turned back to the elevator, swiped her keycard, and the doors slid open. But she didn't go in right away. Instead, she turned to the watching residents, many of whom now looked uncomfortable, some even ashamed. I've lived here for 3 years, she said clearly. I've paid more in taxes in this city than most people will in their lifetimes. I donate to local schools. I mentor youth from Harlem and the Bronx. And every time I walk into my building, I'm treated like an intruder. She paused, but not anymore. Without another word, she stepped into the elevator and vanished into the sky. The story didn't end there. Within 48 hours, the Aurora's management issued a public apology and began mandatory anti-bias training for all staff. Several tenants, including celebrities and venture capitalists, reached out personally to apologize. Imani received flowers, handwritten notes, and private dinner invitations, most of which she politely declined. But more importantly, her story spread. News outlets picked it up. Social media exploded with the hashtag let her in. Thousands of women of color from around the world shared similar experiences of being mistaken for assistants, janitors, or trespassers in their own spaces. And while the attention was overwhelming at first, Imani saw an opportunity. She launched a new diversity program under Novatia Systems called Insight, focused on training security, real estate, and corporate gatekeepers on implicit bias, cultural competence, and equity in service. Within months, it was adopted by 5 Fortune 500 companies, 3 national real estate conglomerates, and over 150 high-end residential towers in major cities. Todd and Carla, meanwhile, were unable to secure comparable jobs in the industry again. Their dismissals were documented and shared internally among elite property management companies. Some criticized the severity of their punishment. Others said it was long overdue. But Imani didn't act out of revenge. She acted out of principle. Because no one, no matter how successful, wealthy, or accomplished, should have to prove they belong in their own home. And in those 5 minutes with poise and power, Imani didn't just fire 2 guards. She fired a warning shot across a society still quick to judge and slow to learn. And, perhaps more importantly, she reminded the world that Black excellence doesn't need permission to walk through any door. It owns the building.